Peace and blessings, you all. It is Akila McQueen, aka Empress Awakening, the hearts, the minds, and the spirits of all those that I may encounter. That is my life duty, as it is yours.
Peace, family. It's Supreme I, and we right back at it with another video. We're calling this video Veganism and Spirituality.
So, to start off, I want to say that sometimes when you are on this journey, you will start gaining a whole bunch of things that you never thought were going to come into your life. And I can say within my own experience, as I've been on this journey 9 years now, that when
Hey.
that when I became that when I became vegan, that I didn't expect to be opened up to so many different dimensions, for so many portals to be gained along my path. It truly has been transformational, and I'm completely grateful. And I say that because with veganism, I was allowed to take away a lot of ailments that I had within my body, such as fainting spells, severe PMS, ovarian cystic, ovarian cyst, and different things like that. Those are like the main things that I had dealt with. And I had gone to the doctor for it and made hospital visits for it. All people trying to figure out how to help me or how to get rid of these things within my life, and nobody could figure out what was wrong. And so, say for something like fainting spells, it's when the oxygen is not being is unable to go to your brain. So when we have like a built up cholesterol within our blood, it makes it hard for the blood to do its job, which is taking oxygen throughout the entire body. So when I started eating plant based, I essentially the plants were essentially going in my body and cleaning them and cleaning out my blood so that my blood cells can easily move throughout my body, and the oxygen that needed to get to my brain would get there. And I have not had any fainting spells since changing my diet. And that to me was like one of the most profound things. So if that's happening to me on a physical level of having a mental clarity, then I know that on a spiritual level I was having spiritual clarity. I was able to be more in tune with nature. I started to have like these, how people like to say, out of body experiences where I would have different connections with different plants, even talking with trees and gaining wisdom from just sitting in nature that I never experienced before when I was eating heavier, denser foods that had the ability to take on its own personalities within my mental faculties. So when I started to have this spiritual clarity, I started to care about Earth more. Now, I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York, and I lived in Jersey, so I can say that honestly, I did not have such a good connection with nature. I was like, it's hot outside. I'm not going out there in no forest or camping or forget the bugs and all nature's creatures and all. I didn't have that mentality until I started to eat better. And it's because when you take that time to pay attention to what you're consuming internally through your digestive system, you start to want to know, like, what else am I taking on a spiritual level, on an emotional level. And so becoming vegan helped me to see that path more clearly, spiritually, and being more cognizant of what it is that I was experiencing. So I kind of was rapping.
That was good.
Yeah, but that for me, that has been the most essential part of this journey, was the fact that it completely opened the gateway for me to receive messages, because everything was blocked physically, and there was no energy portals that spirit could come through to be able to speak to me clearly without hesitation. So I'm very grateful for this path, this veganism path. It definitely has made major life changes, significant has had significant impacts on my life.
Wow, I like that. For me, veganism and spirituality goes hand in hand because we kind of look at our food as like a central pillar of our spiritual practice. Because if you think about it, what else do you do where you take something inside of you three to five times a day for most people? You know what I'm saying? So the very act of taking in food is very, very intimate. It has very intimate repercussions for the heart. It has very intimate repercussions for the mind. It has very intimate repercussions for your karma. So basically, we use veganism as a vehicle to cultivate more life force energy, to improve our DNA, to enhance our mind state, and to also improve our connectivity to nature. You feel me? We look at nutrition from the standpoint of initiates or spiritual aspirants. And what I mean when I say this is we actually pose the question to ourselves, like, what are superior forms of nutrition that we can get? We see the norm. We see how people are generally follow the SAD diet, the standard American diet, which consists of, basically meat, animal products, and processed food and preservatives and all other type of stuff we can't even really name if you look at the chemical element of it. And we weigh that as opposed to eating plant-based diet. And basically for us, it's a no-brainer. You understand? So it's like, it's a no-brainer because you get more energy, more nutrition, pound for pound, through a plant-based diet. And it's completely sustainable. You understand? So the thing about it is, if you're able to increase your life force energy and nourish infinite worlds all by the practice of what you eat, then you have to go with the higher. That's a reason why veganism and spirituality goes hand in hand, because once you sense the greater, that's when you realize you need to sacrifice the lesser. So we sacrificed killing animals directly and indirectly, most people, in order to get some vegetables or plants and fruits. And it's always this popular argument that comes up when you talk about harming animals or the emotional aspect between killing an animal and ripping a plant up. But what you need to know is that eating fruit is essentially karmaless. It is essentially karmaless because that tree basically has produced that fruit as an offering for your temple. It produced that fruit as an offering for your temple. The tree produced the fruit as an offering for your temple. When you go to nature and you eat a fruit, you're literally eating the sexual organs of that tree. So you are literally pleasing nature by consuming a fruit. A fruit is literally the sexual organs of a tree. And it is highly evolved. It's highly evolved because it knows we're highly evolved. Trees have been farming human beings for millions of years. Humans have been farming plants for thousands of years. There's a difference. So once we understand our place in creation, we understand what we can go to for our nutrition. So yeah, just a little bit about that. What's most important is that you know that your spiritual path can be enhanced by having a plant-based diet. If you look in most of the various religions of the world, they're going to have a subsect of practitioners who follow a plant-based diet. And all of these practitioners are going to tell you that you are more in communion with God. You are more in communion with nature. Therefore, you are more in communion with the planet as a whole. And the planet as a whole is in tune with the cosmic rhythm of the sun. So now you're in tune. Your will is bent in conformity with planetary will. And now because you're bent in conformity with planetary will, you're now bent in conformity with galactic will. And the galactic will is bent in conformity with cosmic will. So you're following a progression in a hierarchy. When you eat this food, just know that it's about 80% to 90% water. Your body is 80 to 90% water. So this is like common sense. It comes from the sense of the heart to understand and know that you are what you eat. So why would I go to something that doesn't have water in it? Why would I go to something that doesn't have electricity in it? I wouldn't even eat anything that's dead. Like, that's not even a vibration we're even going to talk about right now. At this point, this is for people who are starting to have inner convictions and sense that they need a superior form of nutrition. Because in the future, much more is going to be demanded of you. There's a whole slew in science and field of science that deals with DNA and nutrition. It's called epigenetics. It's also called nutrigenomics. They have found that if you eat certain fruits, certain vegetables that it awakens dormant DNA. It literally raises dormant brain cells. It literally causes a resurrection in your temple. They say we only use 5 to 10% of your brain. Now I'm telling you how we can use the other through deep breathing. In fruits, you can get structured water, oxygen, electricity, actually a music package, because as you can hear, the birds are chirping in the background, and it's water. Dr. Musuro Emoto taught us that the water actually catches vibratory signatures. So the fruit the fruit is a soundtrack of different species and animals in nature, literally. And you're taking this into your DNA. So anyways, you're taking all of these elements of the fruit in your body, and it's literally morphing your DNA. The humans of the future are going to look drastically different than what the humans look like right now. And that's a fact. That's a fact of nature. So veganism enhances our spirituality in 7 ways. But one of the most important ways that it enhances our spirituality is that it improves our connectivity to nature. Nature is the tuning fork of the spirit. Nature is God's bride. Nature is God's wife. So basically, quite naturally, when we eat from nature, we're attuned to the vibrational rate of the planet. We're attuned to the vibrational rate of divinity. Everything vibrates in nature. There's a vibration of death and decay. There's a vibration of divinity and transformation and evolution. When we choose to eat fruit, vegetables, and plants from the planet, we are literally making that conscious decision to jump into our immortality and flip our soul inside out.
You just said a mouthful. Brain, my neural impulses are going off right now. Love that. Definitely. Definitely rock with everything you said. And I think it's important for us to understand the relationship that we have with the food that we're eating. Sadhguru, if you have never heard of him, definitely check out his videos. He goes into why we should not eat animals. And he said because the more animals become more complex, and complex doesn't mean that one is higher than the other. Plants are very highly intelligent. And they teach us stillness, and they teach us meditation. They teach us about serving a plethora of kingdoms outside of ourselves. So we gain so much knowledge from the plant kingdom. Okay, hold on, good. But he said that with animals, especially the animals that we just speak about in the West that are eaten on a day-to-day basis, have an emotional body. That you can see a cow or a pig cry when it's hurting. You can see that it builds and forms relationships among each other, just like how we do as humans. And in a sense, some of them have their own mind. You know, he said that someone had died, and the whole house was mourning. And when he went to see the cow was mourning itself. And how that really just shifted his whole paradigm about animal existence and their complexity. Now, they may not be out here creating skyscrapers, as we as humans tend to think is so, creates this hierarchy within our ego, basically. But that they have their own being. So whenever we, like our King was just speaking on, whenever we eat anything, we're taking on the essence of it. So when we're eating fruit, like he said, it's filled with an etheric body that is of high vibrancy. And it's not harsh on the body. The body knows how to digest it adequately without having any issues. Put that on Netflix. The body is able to digest the fruit without much what's the word I'm looking for?
Too much work.
Yeah, exactly. Without overcompensating. When it comes to when humans are eating animals, there it's a slowdown within the body. There's also it takes a long time for the meat to exit the body. Whereas other animals who are omnivores or carnivores, the process is much quicker. and they don't have all these ailments and illnesses that we have. And it would behoove us to think, well, if we are so-called eating in the correct way, why are all these illnesses happening? And out of all the diseases and things that there are out there that in the West and America that people are suffering from, most of the doctors are going to tell you, you need to change your diet. But they won't directly say, and you need to change it to a plant-based diet. They'll just say, you need to make some changes in your diet. You need to make some lifestyle changes, because all of these things are connected. The pharmaceutical people, the doctors, and the food. All of those things is like one big old circle of, I was about to say a curse word. But basically of nonsense, of just trying to degrade people because of capitalism. So when you take yourself out of the vicious cycle of all of that and just look at things for what it was, to bring back to the point, is when you eat an animal, a feeling animal, you're taking on its personality. You start to take on some of its behaviors. And within your DNA and within its DNA and its cells and your cells is a fight that goes on. So when people have cancer, it's because your cells start mutating. And our question to ourselves should be like, what's causing this mutation? Now, eating animals are not the only cause of illness. Our mental capacity has a direct effect on it. Our environment has an effect on it. What we do on a day-to-day, stress is like a big indication for illness in our lives. So it's not just animal-based eating. It's not what I want you all to get from what I'm saying. But it plays a significant role because it's something that you do every day, 3 times a day, a lot of times more. And so your body is essentially fighting against something that does not belong there. And within our own bodies, we create our own cholesterol. And we make enough that we don't need any more. So that's why when people have any heart disease, it's because it's a buildup of what? Cholesterol in the body. Because the body does not know what to do with this excess cholesterol. And so if you're thinking about that on a spiritual level, it's you bringing in 2 energies that are into a space that do not belong. And so your body is like trying to fight it off and help to create a balance within its space, and is unable to. So when we're thinking about spirituality and veganism, I agree with what King said from the beginning. It is something that goes hand in hand, because everything that we do on the physical level relates to something that's going on the spiritual level, whether we can see it or not, whether we're aware of it or not, whether we're in tune with it or not. It is. Anything else you wanted to say or add to that, King?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to address how people like to talk about how our ancestors are looking at all of these different cultures around the world that eat meat, or how our ancestors ate meat. As a vegan, your ancestors are now vegan, all of them. We act like we have no concept of raising the bar and setting a new standard. We can never go back to the spirit of the age where they existed at. That might have been the cosmic mandate back then, but it is not now. It's not now. Not now. Not up in here. You know what I'm saying? Not up in this new earth. Not up in this new Atlantis. Not up in this new temple. That's what we're doing. We're preparing the way for the second coming of Christ. You feel me? And that's why we have to make sure that our tools are well conditioned, so that we can actually put in this work and build a structure that exalts heaven. So it doesn't matter what our ancestors ate. They were working with a different psychology. They were working with a different degree of spirituality. We are operating in some entirely new circumstances. If you get somebody from the 1700s or your ancient ancestors from whenever, and you place them in this here earth, they gonna be like, what the fuck type of shit? Y'all, you're not eating none of these animals, but y'all got me fucked up. You know what I'm saying? They would say that. So we have to use our common sense, and we have to use our inner sense. We have to use our mind. We have to use our heart, you know?
Just to say that with using our heart, when we take a look at something, like just say, for example, Earthlings basically exposed what was going on in the animal industry. And it showed like the mistreatment of animals, and it showed the amount of animals that die every day just for things that we need or that we thought we needed in our lives. And we're basically creating a karma.
Right.
You know, when you are using things excessively, it comes back to you
Yeah.
in some way, shape, or form. When you're not thinking of other lives because just to better your own, it comes back to you. We're creating an oppression or a struggle on other beings because we think that we want all these things and we deserve to have those things just because we can create the circumstances for it. But when we look at nature, other animals that eat other animals, they're not locking their animals up in cages and keeping them from living their own lives. We're not, and when people are doing this, they're not acting from their heart.
Right.
You
Exactly.
can't be. Because if you were acting from your heart, you will allow animals to live how they should live and go and try to catch them yourself, hunt them down if that's what you decide to do. And eat them just like how other animals eat animals. But that's not what we do. We take away their liberty. And that's not moving from the heart. And that's just the only thing I wanted to say. Yeah, I got it.
So, yeah, veganism and spirituality. It goes hand in hand, you know, plant-based eating and spirituality, because when we talk about spirituality, we're talking about human development, and as a fact of nature, evolution basically is a higher form of expression. And so ask yourself, like, do you think you can cultivate your mind and your heart through plant-based eating more, or eating animals, processed food, denatured non-food that we eat, Twinkies and Ho-Hos and stuff like that? You know what I'm saying? I mean, and then it's simple. And then everybody knows that children come down here holy and blessed and divine. So if you ask a child right now, like if I ask my daughter right now or my son, like, would y'all eat an animal? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, no, we play with animals. We're not going to eat an animal. You sound kind of silly right now, Baba. You know what I'm saying? Because it's common sense. And they just came from the spiritual world. So, I mean, don't even listen to us. Don't even listen to some of these older people that's talking about, oh, it's okay if you eat meat. No, it is not. It's not. Now, I'm going to say in a relative sense, if you eat meat and this isn't even in your field of awareness, but now it is, so don't eat meat, pretty much. You know what I'm saying? But if you catching them inner convictions and it's like conflicting a little bit, that's your soul. So no, it's not okay. If you eat meat and you're going to continue to eat meat, do your thing. This message is not even for you, trust me. You know what I'm saying? But what we want to relay is that it goes hand in hand with your spirituality. And because you eat 3 to 5 times a day, hopefully not that much, but anyways, because you eat 3 to 5 times a day, now you can take this as something, a holy practice each time. You know, you can put stuff in you that's going to give you more life instead of give you more death, you know. And we don't like anything that takes too much energy. A lot of these meals that people are eating zap the blood and the life force energy, so you're tired after you eat. It's not eating for energy, it's eating just to feel good. Who wants to paralyze the stomach? I mean, they can't even finish their spiritual tasks after it's been paralyzed. So, I mean, that's pretty much all I want to say for this video. I see we're about to run out of time.
Yeah. Well, we thank you for joining us today. We hope that this was informative. We'll do another video and go more in depth and talk about other things that we didn't get to talk about in this video. We hope that you're having a blessed and peaceful day. Sending you lots and lots of love on your way.